The shadows stretched long across the quad as Amara and Jabari Foster walked together in silence, their synchronized footsteps barely audible on the concrete. They were used to the stairs, had been since they were 7 years old, and their father moved them from their close-knit neighborhood in Atlanta to this predominantly white suburb in Northern Virginia. 10 years later, they still walked with their shoulders nearly touching, a united front against whatever the world might throw at them. 17 now, they'd perfected the art of being invisible while standing out completely. "They're looking again," Amara murmured, her eyes fixed forward as they passed a group of students lounging on the lawn. She didn't need to clarify who they were. Jabari knew without looking. Dylan Maxwell and his friends, the self-appointed social gatekeepers of Westwood High. "Let them," Jabari replied, his deep voice betraying none of the tension that tightened his shoulders. 3 more months and we never have to see them again. But it wasn't just about enduring until graduation. It was about surviving each day with dignity intact, about not letting the whispers and snide remarks chip away at who they were. The twins had developed thick skin over the years, but even the strongest armor had its weak points. "Hey, jungle kids?" Dylan's voice carried across the quad, deliberately loud enough to draw attention. "How's it swinging today?" Amara felt her brother's steps falter almost imperceptibly. She brushed her hand against his, a silent reminder of their pact. Never give them the satisfaction. They continued walking as if they hadn't heard, but the damage was done. The laughter that followed clung to them like smoke. Home was 4 blocks away, a modest 2-story with a small front yard that their father kept immaculately trimmed despite his long hours at the hospital. Dr. Foster had moved them here for the schools, for opportunities he believed they couldn't get elsewhere. Some days, Amara wondered if it had been worth it. "We have training in an hour," Jabari reminded her as they entered the house, dropping his backpack by the door. "Master Chen doesn't like it when we're late." The dojo had been their sanctuary since they were 8. When the taunting at school had grown too much to bear, their father had enrolled them in martial arts, hoping it would build their confidence. What had started as self-defense classes had evolved into a passion that defined them. For 2 hours every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, they weren't the odd ones out. They were simply martial artists, respected for their skill and dedication. "I know," Amara replied, heading to the kitchen for a snack. "I just need to finish my calculus homework first." Their lives followed a careful rhythm: school, homework, training, sleep, repeat. It was predictable and safe, if not particularly exciting. Until the day Kei Tanaka walked into their dojo. Amara noticed him first. It was impossible not to. He moved with an effortless grace that spoke of years of training, his lean body flowing through warm-up exercises as if gravity affected him differently than everyone else. His arrival caused a stir among the other students. Whispers about championships and perfect scores. Master Chen had introduced him as a transfer from California, taking time off before college to train and compete. "He's good," Jabari commented during water break, watching as Kai demonstrated a complex sequence of moves for some of the younger students. "Very," Amara agreed, trying to sound casual despite the flutter in her chest when Kai glanced their way and smiled. There was something disarming about that smile, open and genuine in a way she wasn't used to from strangers, especially not handsome ones with kind eyes. After class, as they were gathering their things, Kai approached them. "You two are amazing to watch," he said without preamble. "Your synchronization is incredible. How long have you been training together?" "Since we were 8, Jabari answered, surprise evident in his voice. Most people commented on their being twins first, their skills second, if at all. It's a twin thing, Amara added with a small smile. Kay nodded thoughtfully. It's more than that. You're both technically precise, but there's something else. A flow between you that can't be taught. He extended his hand. I'm Kai, by the way. Kei Tanaka. Jabari Foster, her brother replied, shaking his hand. And this is my sister, Amara. Nice to meet you both, Kai said, his eyes lingering on Amara's for a beat longer than necessary. I'm looking for training partners who can keep up. Master Chen suggested you two might be up for it. And just like that, their carefully constructed routine had a new element. 3 days a week became 5 as they added extra training sessions with Kai. He was preparing for the Eastern Regional Championships in 3 months, and he claimed they were exactly what he needed to push his skills further. For Amara, these sessions became both a blessing and a torment. A blessing because Kay treated them as equals, as valuable training partners worthy of respect. A torment because with each passing day, she found herself more drawn to him, to his dedication, his humor, the way his face lit up when he mastered a difficult technique. You're distracted, Jabari noted one evening as they walked home after a particularly intense session. Amara shrugged, not meeting his eyes. Just tired. Jabari hummed skeptically. It has nothing to do with the way you turn into a human tomato whenever Kay helps adjust your stance. Shut up, she muttered, shoving him lightly. But she couldn't deny it. Something about Kay made her feel seen in a way she hadn't experienced before. Not just as half of a matched set, or as the jungle girl that Dylan and his friends mocked, but as Amara, complex, capable, and worth knowing. At school, their interactions with Kai were limited. He attended the nearby community college for a few classes, only crossing paths with them occasionally when he visited Westwood's library for research. Still, those brief encounters became bright spots in Amara's day. Kay leaning against their table to chat, bringing them coffee sometimes, his smile a contrast to the cool indifference they usually faced. It was after one such meeting that Dylan cornered them in the parking lot. Amara had stayed late to help Kai find resources for a paper he was writing, and Jabari had wrestling practice. She was alone when Dylan and 2 of his friends stepped into her path. Look who it is, Dylan drawled, his smile sharp and mean. Half of the Jungle Patrol. Where's your bodyguard, Foster? Amara tightened her grip on her backpack strap. Move, Dylan. In a hurry? Hot date with the foreign exchange student. He stepped closer, invading her space. What does he see in you anyway? Some kind of exotic fantasy. The words stung more than she wanted to admit, because somewhere deep down, in a place she hated acknowledging, she'd wondered the same thing. Was Kay's interest in her just curiosity about someone different? A temporary fascination? You don't know what you're talking about, she said, her voice steadier than she felt. Dylan's friend Brett snickered. Maybe she's giving him jungle fever. The crude joke made the others laugh. And Amara felt heat rise in her cheeks, not embarrassment but anger. Original, she said coldly. Did you spend all day coming up with that one? Dylan's smile faltered. You think you're so much better than everyone else, don't you? You and your brother with your perfect grades and your weird martial arts obsession. I don't think I'm better than everyone, Amara replied, meeting his gaze directly. Just better than you. She saw the shift in his eyes before he moved, a flash of something ugly and dangerous. When he grabbed her arm, instinct took over. Years of training meant she didn't have to think. Her body simply responded. A twist of her wrist broke his grip. A sweep of her leg had him stumbling backward. She didn't strike him, didn't need to. The shock on his face was satisfaction enough. "What the hell?" Brett exclaimed, moving toward her until she turned to face him, stance ready. "Problem here?" A familiar voice cut through the tension. Kay stood a few feet away, his posture relaxed but his eyes alert and assessing. Dylan scrambled to regain his composure. "No problem. Just having a chat with Foster." "Looked like more than a chat to me," Kay replied evenly. "Whatever," Dylan muttered, backing away. "Let's go, guys. The Jungle Patrol has backup." As they retreated, Amara let out a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. Her hands trembled slightly, not from fear but from adrenaline and restraint. "You okay?" Kaya asked, moving closer. "Fine," she said, adjusting her backpack. "Nothing I haven't dealt with before." Kai studied her face. "You didn't even break a sweat." "Years of practice," she answered with a shrug. "At handling racist jerks? At not giving them the reaction they want." She started walking toward the street, and Kai fell into step beside her. "You know," he said after a moment, "you could have put him on the ground. You had the opening." Amara glanced at him, surprised. "You saw that?" "I've been watching you train for weeks, Amara. I know what you're capable of." There was admiration in his voice that made her chest tight. "Why didn't you?" "And give him something real to complain about." "No thanks." She shook her head. "Besides, what would be the point? He'd still be an ignorant jerk, and I'd be in trouble." Kay nodded thoughtfully. "Wisdom and restraint. Master Chen would be proud." They walked in comfortable silence for a while, their shoulders occasionally brushing. With each step, Amara felt the tension of the confrontation easing. "Can I ask you something?" Kay finally said as they approached her street. "Sure. Would you want to get dinner sometime? Just us?" Amara stopped walking, certain she'd misheard. "Like a date?" Kai turned to face her, a hint of nervousness breaking through his usual confidence. "Exactly like a date, yes." "Why?" The question escaped before she could stop it. Confusion flickered across his face. "Why would I want to date you?" I mean, she struggled to articulate the doubt that Dylan had reinforced. "Is it because I'm different from other girls you've known?" Understanding dawned in Kay's eyes, followed by something fiercer. "I want to date you because you're Amara. Because you're brilliant and dedicated and kind. Because you make me laugh and you challenge me to be better." He took a breath. "Because when I'm with you, I feel like I've found someone who understands what matters to me." The sincerity in his voice made her doubt retreat. "Oh, is that a yes?" A smile spread across her face. "Yes, it's a yes." The news of their date spread through Westwood High like wildfire, fueled by gossip and the inevitable sightings of them together. Jabari was supportive, if protective, subjecting Kai to what Amara called his twin interrogation before giving a grudging approval. Their father, when introduced to Kai, was impressed by his respectful manner and ambitious plans. For Amara, dating Kai was like stepping into a parallel universe where she wasn't defined by others' perceptions. He listened when she spoke about her dreams of studying biomechanical engineering. He shared his own passion for international relations and human rights law. They spent hours at the local cafe, talking until closing, and trained together with an intensity that left even Master Chen impressed. But paradise had its serpents. Dylan and his friends escalated their taunts, now directed at both Amara and Kai. Jungle fever whispered in hallways. Comments about exotic tastes scrawled on bathroom walls. And worse, Suggestions that Kai was slumming it, that it couldn't possibly be serious between them. Ignore them, Kai advised when he found Amara staring at a particularly vile note left on her locker. They're just jealous because you're extraordinary, and they're painfully ordinary. She wanted to believe him, but doubt had taken root. What if they're right? What if this is just temporary? An experiment? Kai took her hands in his expression serious. Amara Foster, I've traveled across this country, trained with champions, met incredible people. And I have never, not once, felt about anyone the way I feel about you. His words were a balm, but reality still pressed in. The whispers, the stares, the weight of being different in a place that valued sameness above all. It came to a head at the spring formal, an event Amara had never planned to attend until Kai asked her. She'd bought a dress, spent hours with her hair, even allowed herself to imagine a perfect night. They arrived to curious stares and not so subtle whispers, but with Jabari and his date, a girl from the debate team, beside them, they formed a protective unit. For a while, it was magical. Dancing with Kai under dimmed lights, laughing at his terrible moves, feeling for once like she belonged in this moment, in this place. Then came the announcement for prom court nominations, and Dylan's voice cut through the crowd. Write a nomination for King and Queen, the Jungle Twins and their exotic pets. The laughter that followed wasn't universal, but it was enough. Amara felt the familiar burn of humiliation, saw the flash of anger in Kay's eyes, the tightening of Jabari's jaw. Let's just go, she whispered, tugging at Kay's hand. But Jabari was already moving, crossing the dance floor with purpose. Not toward Dylan, to the DJ booth. After a brief conversation, he took the microphone. For those who don't know me, I'm Jabari Foster. His voice, usually quiet, filled the room with authority. My sister and I have attended Westwood for 3 years now. In that time, we've maintained 4.0 GPAs, earned black belts, volunteered at the Children's Hospital, and generally minded our own business. The room had fallen silent, all eyes on him. But there's something else you should know about us. He scanned the crowd, gaze landing on Dylan. We're really tired of your racism disguised as jokes. So here's a proposition. The spring tournament is next weekend. It's open to the public. Anyone who thinks they can back up their big talk with action is welcome to sign up and face us on the mat. A murmur ran through the crowd. Dylan's face flushed dark red. In the meantime, Jabari continued, I suggest you all enjoy the dance. And Dylan? The next time you want to call us names, remember we've spent the last 10 years learning how to take down opponents twice our size. He handed back the microphone and returned to their group, eyes blazing with a rare display of temper. That, Kai said with admiration, was badass. Amara stared at her brother, stunned. Jabari had always been the diplomatic one, the one who counseled patience and restraint. This public challenge was completely out of character. You didn't have to do that, she told him quietly as they left the dance, the night effectively ruined. Yes, I did, Jabari replied firmly. I'm tired of watching them hurt you. Tired of pretending it doesn't matter. The week that followed was tense. Word of Jabari's challenge spread throughout the school, creating a buzz of anticipation. Dylan and his friends alternated between mockery and nervous bravado. To Amara's surprise, several other students, ones who had always been silent bystanders, approached them with words of support. I can't believe he actually signed up, Kai said, looking at the tournament roster where Dylan Maxwell's name appeared in the novice division. Brett and two other members of his group had joined him, apparently unwilling to let their leader face humiliation alone. Pride is a powerful motivator, Master Chen observed, joining them, as is fear of losing face. The day of the tournament dawned clear and bright. The community center was packed with spectators, not just the usual parents and fellow martial artists, but what seemed like half of Westwood High. Amara felt their eyes on her as she warmed up, heard the whispers as she and Jabari moved through their preparatory routines with fluid synchronicity. Kai found her before the first round, pulling her aside. "Remember why you're here," he said gently. "Not for them. For yourself. For the art you love." She nodded, grateful for his understanding. This wasn't about vengeance or proving something to Dylan. It was about reclaiming their passion from the shadow of mockery, about showing themselves in their element, confident, skilled, and perfectly at home. The novice matches came first. Dylan, to his credit, had clearly done some last-minute training. His stance was passable, his movements stiff but determined. It wasn't enough. His opponent, a 12-year-old girl who had been training since she was 4, dispatched him with calm efficiency. Brett fared slightly better, lasting almost 2 minutes before a sweep took his feet out from under him. When it was Amara's turn to compete in the advanced division, she stepped onto the mat with a clear mind. Her opponent was familiar, a young woman from another dojo whom she'd faced before. They bowed, circled, engaged. The world narrowed to movement and response, to the clean application of technique and strategy. When it was over, Amara's hand was raised in victory, and she felt nothing but respect for her opponent and satisfaction in her performance. Jabari and Kay both won their divisions as well, their victories celebrated by the growing crowd of Westwood students who had come to watch and stayed, captivated by a world they'd previously dismissed. The highlight came at the end, a demonstration by the dojo's black belts. Amara and Jabari performed the synchronized form they'd perfected over years, their movements a conversation without words, power and grace in perfect balance. When they finished, the applause was genuine and enthusiastic. Later, as they were gathering their things, Dylan approached. His earlier bravado was gone, replaced by something that looked almost like respect. "That was impressive," he admitted grudgingly. "I didn't realize it was so intense." Amara exchanged a glance with Jabari before responding. "There's a lot you don't realize about us, Dylan." He had the grace to look embarrassed. "Yeah, I'm getting that. Look about the jungle comments. They're racist, and you know it." Jabari cut in, his voice firm but not angry. "We're not here for your apology unless it comes with a change in behavior." Dylan nodded slowly. "Fair enough." It wasn't friendship, wasn't even reconciliation, but it was a shift. A recognition, however small, that they were more than the labels he tried to impose. As the crowd dispersed, Kay found Amara outside, sitting on a bench in the fading light. He settled beside her, close enough that their shoulders touched. "You were amazing today," he said, taking her hand. "We all were." She leaned against him, the exhaustion of the day finally catching up to her. "Do you think it made a difference? With the school, I mean." Kay considered this. For some people, yes. Others, it's hard to change minds that don't want to be changed. He squeezed her hand. "But that's not on you, Amara. You and Jabari showed them who you really are. What they do with that information is their problem." She nodded, understanding the truth in his words. They couldn't control how others saw them, could only be authentic in who they were. "I have something to tell you," Kai said after a moment, his tone shifting. "I heard back from Georgetown. they've accepted me for the fall semester. Amara sat up straight, joy blooming in her chest. Kai, that's amazing. It's your first choice. It is, he agreed, his smile wide. And it's 20 minutes from Virginia Tech, where a certain brilliant engineer I know will be studying. The implication wasn't lost on her. Georgetown had been his dream school long before he met her, but the proximity to her own college choice now seemed like a gift from the universe. So we can keep dating, she said, a statement rather than a question. I was thinking more along the lines of continue building this relationship that means everything to me. Kai replied, his expression turning serious. Amara, what I feel for you isn't casual. It's not temporary. He paused, searching for words. It's like finding a part of myself I didn't know was missing. The confession left her breathless. In his eyes, she saw a future unfolding. One where she was valued not despite her differences, but because of all that made her uniquely herself. I love you, she whispered, the words feeling both momentous and completely natural. And not just because you see me clearly, because you make me see myself clearly too. His kiss was gentle, a promise sealed in the quiet of the evening. When they finally pulled apart, Amara felt a peace she'd been searching for since they'd moved to this town. A sense of belonging that had nothing to do with fitting in and everything to do with being accepted for exactly who she was. They walked home hand in hand, talking about everything and nothing, tournaments and college plans, his mother's recipes and her father's terrible jokes. Ordinary things made extraordinary by the person sharing them. At her door, Kai kissed her again, lingering. See you tomorrow for training? Always, she promised. Inside, she found Jabari in the kitchen, making a protein shake. He took one look at her face and smiled knowingly. Good day. The best, she confirmed, stealing a sip of his shake and laughing at his protest. They'd come so far from those first difficult days in Virginia, from the isolation and the taunts, from feeling like outsiders in their own school. They'd found strength in each other, in their training, and in the people who saw past labels to who they really were. As Amara headed upstairs to her room, she caught sight of herself in the hallway mirror, tall and strong, her face flushed with happiness. Not a jungle kid. Not half of a match set. Just Amara Foster, black belt warrior and woman in love, finally comfortable in her own skin and excited for whatever came next. The bullies had called them jungle kids, never realizing the strength that grew within them. Not just the physical power honed through years of discipline, but the deeper strength of knowing exactly who they were. It was that knowledge, that unshakable sense of self, that was their true black belt mastery. And no one could take that away from them, ever again.